You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the September 2025 regular council meeting for the Municipality of Eastern Charlotte. I'm Florence Mitchell. Today's meeting begins with presentations by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police J Division and Fred Stewart of the Beaver Harbour Athletic Association. Under Old Business, Council will move to give Bylaw EC 15 regarding mayoral reporting for the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission its third and final reading by title. Under New Business, Council will discuss capital funds allocation. Council will also move to give assent to the St. George Cemetery Board subdivision plan. Finally, Mayor Craig will make a proclamation for Dyslexia Awareness Month. Now let's join Council at Macadavic Place in St. George.
I will now call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. here at Macadavic Place, St. George. Good evening and welcome to the September 2025 regular council meeting for the Eastern Charlotte Council. Tonight, all councilors here except for Councillor Lee is a family emergency. Councillor Hatt is here by phone, so there may be times I may have to ask him his vote because I can't see his hand. I welcome all those who are attending tonight and those who are watching on the television or cell phone or the computers. Dawson Hatt is doing the camera tonight, so thank you very much for doing this tonight, Dawson. Florence Mitchell's in the back doing the switching. And of course, their star, Vicky Hogarth, is here tonight. Chris McKinnon, our assistant clerk, is taking notes, and our CEO, Jason Gaudette, is here too. Happy birthday to Councillor Tidd today. Big round of applause for Councillor Tidd here today. And congratulations on your wedding on Labor Day weekend as well, too. So it's a big... Each year, September the 30th marks the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The day honors the children who never returned home and survivors of the 139 Indian residential schools in Canada, as well as their families and communities. To honor that day tonight and again on September 30th, I wear an orange shirt. The orange color represents truth-telling and healing. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of the tragic legacy of residential schools, the missing children of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, the families left behind, and the survivors of these institutions. Every child matters. Tonight, I'll be looking to council and looking for a motion to adopt the agenda for the meeting of September the 17th, which is tonight. I need a motion for that. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor McQuarrie. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Councillor Hatt, he said aye as well. Gotcha. Thank you. Conflict of interest. This is your opportunity to declare a conflict of interest. There's none tonight. I'll go to number 4, the adoptions of the minutes of previous council meetings. Councillor Tidd, you had a motion here tonight, I think.
I move to approve the minutes as circulated to members of council for August the 20th regular meeting of council and September 2nd committee of the whole. We
have a motion on the floor by Councillor Tidd. I need a seconder for that. Deputy Mayor. Question or comment on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. That brings us to business arising out of the minutes. There are none tonight, and so that moves us right up to delegations, and we have the RCMP here tonight. So I'm going to ask you folks to come here. It's good to have you at the beginning of the meeting, so you can get back to work.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillors, thank you for taking the time to have us here tonight. Appreciate that. Before I get started, just wanted to do a brief introduction. We brought Corporal Remy LeBlanc. Corporal LeBlanc is newly promoted into St. George in a team lead role, and you may recognize his face because he was here previously as a constable, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, good evening. Corporal Remy LeBlanc. Recognize quite a few faces here. Jason, Your Worship. Worked here previously 5.5 years. Had a 2-year stint away in Grand Bay Westfield, but I'm happy to be back. Jason, I know you got my email. there's anything, you guys let me know. I'd be happy to help out. I'm really happy to be back in the community. I'm very familiar with it, and I think it's a good change. So,
Great. Congratulations on your promotion.
thank you.
Thank you. I was going to make him do a 15-minute speech, but so I did bring the our Q1 report, and I do apologize for them being late, but they are literally hot off the presses. So I'll get into that in a second here. I just want to go over a few things that we've been up to and some issues and things we've been dealing with. Over the summer, I guess, so I'll speak basically from the first quarter, April 1st up until now. We've had quite a bit of community engagement through RC10 in our communities, and I think we've gotten some good feedback. So we had good involvement in Canada Day. Most communities were able to assist, so from Campobello right through to Blacks Harbour and St. Andrews and here in St. George. And we also quite busy in the summer helping with some events, some of which were in Fundy Shores, but the Sandcastle competition, Fundy Shores days and things like that. So I just want to get the message out as well, and you folks have been good about it. If you have an event that you would like us to attend or assist with or just be there for a presence, just give us a little bit of notice, and we'll do our best to accommodate. So as I told Fundy Shores last week, we're doing our best to identify those events ahead of time and bring people in on overtime, and so they're not called away to call, so they can participate fully. So it's it is on overtime, but it's money well spent, I think, for that community engagement piece of things. And we also had a very successful, we called it Cram the Cruiser, but it's Cops for Classrooms is what it was called, so across West District. So it was kind of the brainchild of our acting District Commander, Inspector Mike Barry. So instead of, we generally, around Christmas time, we'll do the Cram the Cruiser to assist the food banks. So this one was for kids going back to school, elementary school age primarily. So we did an event in St. Stephen and St. George, and there was also one in St. Andrews, and it was kind of spearheaded and organized by our community policing officer, Lisa Williams, and assisted by us. But I just want to, recognize the outpouring of support, financial and supplies that we got from people within Charlotte County. So we were overwhelmed by it. So very positive impact. We hit all the elementary schools and divvied up the supplies. Lisa did a lot of work on that. So it was very well. So we hope that's something we're going to continue year to year. I know I've touched on it, I think, at our last time I attended and spoke to you folks, but our body-worn cameras now are fully rolled out across the district. So Graham and Ann and Macadam were the last two offices to get them, but all the officers in RC10 wearing them. So I handed out those little cards we have, and if there's any members of the public that are looking for that, we have a stack of those around. But there's a link to it on the card that takes you to our national policy on them. If people have questions, most of them can be answered through that link. But generally, we're finding it very positive so far. It increases our accountability with the public and shows what we're doing. And the policy is basically we turn them on when we go to a call, turn them off when we leave. And if it's required for court, there's a vetting process to remove private information from that. Otherwise, things are just stored in a central database. So very good system. We're very happy with it so far. And so if people see us around, I've already had people ask me, well, I don't want to be recorded. The green light's on. The green light means it's ready. If it's red, it's on. So it has a 30-second buffer prior to be turned on with video only. So that'll show what I was doing in the previous 30 seconds before it was activated. So like I say, a pretty good system. And if you go on YouTube and you watch, like, American police forces seem to put them online pretty quick. It's the same system. It's Axon. It's the same type technology. Traffic enforcement. We've had quite a number of visits from our traffic enforcement unit that roves around the province. They're called the Tactical Traffic Enforcement Unit, and they're a provincial unit that move around throughout the province. They visit us from time to time, and we're very grateful for their work. They do a lot of good work. Traffic enforcement, road safety is one of our priorities, as you well know. And we're also doing traffic enforcement locally as it presents itself. And while I'm on the subject there, I just want to touch on the subject of ATVs. So it's, as people have probably seen in social media, we did some ATV enforcement in St. Stephen a few weeks ago. Got mixed reviews, I guess, if you want to call it that. But the message we're trying to get out on that is we're not out to ruin anybody's good time. We're basically trying to prevent serious injuries and fatalities, which we've had a number of in the past 2 years. And I don't think I have to go around the room too far to talk to people that know somebody that's been personally impacted by that. And it makes it even more tragic when it's youth. And so those are the ones we're trying to get the message out to. We've had, I would say, an extremely serious problem with it in St. Stephen, around the area of the gas stations, Old Ridge, in front of the high school, stunting, very dangerous behavior. So we're trying to curtail that. So that's the message that we're trying to get out. It's not to ruin anybody's fun. It's strictly for safety. We're trying to educate these kids, have them do it in a safe manner, and follow the law. That's basically what we're doing. So we're going to continue with that. As everybody knows, it's no secret. We don't chase them. It's not even, some of them try to goad us into chasing them for a game. We don't do that. It's not safe. It's not safe for them. It's not safe for the public. So we're trying alternate approaches to try to tackle this issue. And so again, if anybody has any feedback or ideas as to how we can address this issue in a reasonable manner, we're all ears. Talking about some of our enforcement actions, we're trying to do a better job of getting our positive news stories out there. So, and I'll give full props to CHCO for carrying those quite quickly. We have a number of fairly significant drug seizures in the past month on Graham and Ann and St. Stephen area, and we have a few more releases coming out. And I just want to emphasize the good work that our officers are doing. This is proactive work. That's you know, it's not simply falling into our hands. They're doing the work, and they're getting some drug seizures, and these are probably going to be leading to other things later on, larger drug seizures. So. We're going to continue to try to get those messages out to show what we're doing and where we're spending our time. And along that line, I want to point out, and I'm sure, again, it was a good news story. It was back in down in Pokologan. That was probably 4 months ago now. We had
Talking about the U-Haul?
Yeah. We had an officer out on patrol late at night down on the McCarthy's Point Road. Noticed a U-Haul truck. And policing's all about what looks right, what looks out of place, you know. So the guy wasn't clearly out moving at 1 o'clock in the morning. Attempted to stop on the vehicle. Vehicle fled, almost struck the officer. A pursuit was initiated. And anyway, we ended up getting the vehicle and arresting the guy. And he's a prolific property crime offender out of kind of Hampton, Sussex area. Once we found out who he was. So in our mind, we probably prevented a number of break-and-enters that night just by good police work, being out and, you know, checking people that look like they're not supposed to be there. So, yeah, again, not to go on all night about this sort of thing, but we're trying to get those messages out as to what we're doing. And just one more thing I want to touch on. Staffing-wise, at our district level, so I mentioned Inspector Mike Berry, so our Superintendent, District Commander Andy Leclerc retired a few months ago. Inspector Berry's been acting in that position since then. However, a new superintendent's been named. He should be probably within a week or two. He'll be assuming the role. It's Martin Saunier. You may remember him. He was the inspector previously. I think he attended a few community meetings down here. So we're quite excited to have him back, and I have no doubts he'll want to come out and do the rounds and meet everyone and whatnot. So some good news. And locally, our staffing numbers are trending up. We had a little bit of turnover lately. People have moved on. And we're getting some staffing coming in. So Remy's a good example of that. We're able to fill the corporal position that had been vacant for about a year. And we've got a couple of cadets incoming, one for St. George, who we'll try to bring out to a council meeting to meet, and a new one for St. Andrews as well. So we're, things are trending the right way in terms of our staffing numbers. Right now, I believe we only have one hard vacancy right now in our C10 and St. Andrews. That means there's an empty seat with nobody planning to come into it. But other than that, the seats are full or people are coming in. So some pretty good news. So as far as the report, I know I just literally dropped it into your hands. If you have any questions about that, I can definitely try to address them now, or if you, if you want to review it and follow up with us through email or whatnot, that's fine as well. Oh, yes, well, go ahead.
Okay. Volunteer myself for some work. One thing too, with schools being back in session, you're going to see visibility of their officers being present, doing traffic enforcement in and around school zones. You'll also see us in the schools updating our safe plans. So that's the plan that we have. It's all web-based, where our officers go in, they verify the information with the schools, contact list, layouts, everything that we need. Heaven forbid, I keep saying this today, likelihood low, impact very high if we have an incident in one of our schools. We want to be on the front end of that. So we plan along with the school district to ensure that we're best positioned to respond to any emergency events in any of our schools. And in addition to our core responsibilities of public safety, traffic enforcement, talk about community engagement. It starts with our youth. We work both in terms of having our CPO, Lisa Williams, in the school, but our officers also, each school is assigned an officer. I happen to be the officer for Vincent Massey School in St. George, or in St. Andrews rather. I've got a daughter there, so it's kind of near and dear to my heart. We encourage all of our officers to be visible in the schools, approachable in terms of any issues that might be identified by the staff, but also, the students like to get to know us and realize that every time you see a police officer doesn't mean somebody's in trouble. Sometimes it's a good thing. And, we stop in things like Halloween and say hi and just kind of do talks with the students. So that's one of the other things we're doing in your community and around the area.
Well, I want to thank you guys very much for coming in today. I really appreciate it. At this point, I'm just going to go to council just see if they have any questions for you. No comments? No? Councilor McQuarrie here first.
Last time, a chance to get one of you guys down there, say between 8:30 and 9.
In the morning for traffic enforcement?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Especially on that ferry, because if they're running late to get into the ferry, that 30 don't mean squat. They come hailing through there 70, 80 kilometers an hour, because I sit there every morning to watch them.
Okay. The issues, I'll sort of step up. The issues regarding the traffic to and from the ferry, it's been an ongoing issue. We have in the past undertaken certain traffic enforcement initiatives. Certainly put the word out to our members to be cognizant of that and to kind of keep the pressure on, so to speak. Encourage people in the community when they see traffic offense taking place, something unsafe, somebody blowing through a crosswalk or something almost hitting somebody, get the license plate, call it in. We definitely, will respond to those kinds of complaints. Staff Sergeant Peters mentioned our tactical traffic enforcement unit. If we are seeing that there is everything's sort of stat-based and evidence-based, where there is a clear record of traffic complaints being called into a certain area about a certain issue, we have no problem sending in that tactical traffic enforcement unit. And it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword, so to speak, because they are very high impact. They will write tickets. They will conduct enforcement. The only caveat I put, once they're off the leash, they're off the leash. If mom or sister or somebody gets a ticket, that's the way it works. So, and again, they're a great tool. We've had great feedback. I know your brother Mayor, His Worship Cogswell, was very, very appreciative of having them along the way into the nuclear power plant, because they're having similar issues there, right? So by all means, we're aware of that issue, and we'll partner with your community to address it. So please encourage people to call it in, and we'll take that feedback back to our officers and ask them to make a bit of a concerted effort to show the doors in the neighborhood there.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Councilor McKay.
Okay, so just going through this quickly, because I just got it. I'm looking at the differences in the occurrences in the different areas. And I understand that Macadam is a small place and Campobello is a small place and St. Andrews. But there's significant differences. Why, do you guys have any idea, like, why that is? Is there more of a police presence, or is there less drugs, like?
Specifically, just the call volume in general?
Yeah, well, even property crimes, like, it's, all of them are way down compared to, like, Eastern Charlotte, 574. Fundy Shores, 163, which is also low, but Macadam, 84. And, Campobello, 51. So why?
It's all just it's a factor of two things. It's people calling things in and reporting them. So if they're not reported, they don't show up here. And it doesn't matter if people put them on Facebook and complain about them, unless they call it in, it's not reported. So that's one thing. And it's honestly, it's directly tied to population and population density. So higher population density, more people, more crime. And that's just evidenced by our two highest locations, which is St. Stephen and Eastern Charlotte, respectively. And that's what drives that. And I would say, yes, you are correct, it is tied to drug use. And just in those, in those very rural areas like Fundy Shores and Macadam that have those, the mass and the rural district itself, you get so many rural areas that, yes, you do have property crime, but I guess proportionally it looks, it's going to, proportionally it's the same, I guess. So if you did a proportional comparison to the population and the area that you're policing, it's probably similar. But it's just, for Campobello, for example, and that might be a bad example because, Campobello, I think a lot of things were maybe unreported and dealt with locally. So whereas, in a larger place like St. Stephen or St. George, those are going to be called in.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? If not, thank you very much for coming in tonight. You really appreciate it. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go to 6B, and we have Fred Stewart from Beaver Harbor Athletic Association.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here tonight, Fred. I appreciate it.
Some of you may know me, some of you may not, but I'm the last chair of the Beaver Harbor Athletics, or Beaver Harbor LSD. And I'm currently the chair of the Beaver Harbor Athletic Association, which I've been involved with in about 40 or more years. I'm here to request from the council tonight some funding to help reinstate the ball field in Beaver Harbor for use. We've got new families have moved in and new kids and a new generation, and they want to see something done there for a playground for them. For a little history of the Beaver Harbor Ball Diamond, a lot of people probably don't know this, the land for the ball field was originally donated by the Bates family in 1945 to honor veterans of World War II. So to me, that has a double content to it with that. It's not only just a ball field for kids, it's a memorial field for our veterans. The Beaver Harbor Athletic Association was established and registered in Fredericton on March 1st, 1946 to oversee the affairs of the ball field. I can remember watching them when I was younger. And in the 80s, myself and a group of community volunteers refurbished the field with a new backstop, 6-foot-high fence all around the field, and the field was used into the 2000s. Then ball kind of dropped off and things faded out. A group of community volunteers want to get the field back into a useful field. The field now needs reroading of water from the field, which is pretty well all done. Removal of the brush, which is mostly, it's all been cut. It's just now has to be removed. And some of the damaged fencing has to be removed too. The old field, when we put the field in back in the 80s, we put a 6-foot-high fence all the way around it and a new backstop. We're proposing a 4-foot-high fence for this now. The backstop will remain, and about a quarter off the original fence will remain there. So we need fence for about 3/4 off the field. And we want to go with a 4-foot-high fence to cut cost. And the estimate for the new 4-foot-high fence for about 3/4 off the field, now I just got this from the local hardware store, these prices from the local hardware store, and this isn't including installation, this is only for material, is $1,840, approximately $1,840 just for the material for it. And I can't remember now the exact footage of it. We're going to do some other changes on the ball field to cut down the cost and cut down on maintenance and everything like that, as well as I was talking to some of the community members who are doing it. They would like to this year try to put in a little skating pond for the kids first thing this winter and that as well. So we'll take anything we can get, of course, to help do it, and our volunteers are willing. We've got contractors volunteered to help out. We've got local community members with equipment and stuff that are doing a lot of the work, but it's still going to cost a lot, still a lot of finances needed to get through there, and we would appreciate any help that you could give us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Just before you leave, I'm just going to turn this over
And if
to...
there's any questions anybody wants, they can just get a hold of me.
Absolutely. I'm just going to ask Councilor if they have a question before you leave. And I'm going to go to Councilor Tidd first.
I just have a question for our CAO. Do we still have funds allotted for Ward 6 for this budget year?
Yes, there is, and community grants as well, so, yeah.
Thanks.
What we'd like to see, if we can get the funding, is the first thing we want to do, and we'd like to do it this fall, if we could, is put a gate on the ball diamond, because our biggest problem with the ball diamond over the years has been vehicles tearing things down and tearing up the field. So, and I notice there's foot and a half deep ruts in the field right now where the vehicles, trucks, and everything. So that is our project that we want to do. Of course, it's an ongoing thing for the fall, but as far as the fencing goes, that'll probably take place in the spring rather than this time of year because of the late. But we're planning on having all the debris, bushes, anything that needs to be taken off. We plan on having that done, and so we can start first thing in the spring to get the field ready, whatever it takes. And but like I say, the first thing we'd like to do is get a gate on there to keep the vehicles off the field. So that's our main project for this year. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much for coming in tonight, Fred. I guess do you have something, Councilor Tidd? Sorry.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that we send the request to the Finance Committee for evaluation for the amount of $1,840.
Okay. You say you want to send it to the Finance Committee?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And I need a seconder for that. Councilor McKay, I guess I saw first. I saw all kinds of hands, but you're the first one. Okay, question or comment on that motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Got Councilor Hatt? You said aye. Aye, okay, good, great, thank you. That's yes, unanimous. Great. We'll move on to department reports, and I'm going to go to the 7A, which is the general government report, and their CAO, Jason Gaudette.
Thank you, Your Worship. General government report for the month of August. Water and wastewater. OnGlobe is working on 3 projects relating to the Black Harbor water. The first is the IBA water source development project. Then they're also working on the phase 2 water project for looking at transmission lines and the ongoing system. And then they're also working on a Goody groundwater project for the current Black Harbor water source wells. We are preparing a meeting with Clean Harbors and Glenn Porter, who's assisting on that project for the Black Harbor Lagoon cleanup. And I believe we're meeting with them actually next week. CBCL is working on the IBA project for water and wastewater projects in St. George. They are currently reviewing industrial volumes and wastewater testing on industrial waste and reviewing volume estimates of industry and possible new developments for the new development area of Exit 56. So they're working in conjunction with looking at that area. CBCL will also update digital mapping of water valves for homes in St. George and Black Harbor. We did receive a number of calls with residents in both communities just wondering what our crews are doing. But we are looking for the shut-off valves and mapping those, so they'll be put in digitally into a mapping system. We continue to ask users in both Black Harbor and St. George water systems to practice water conservation due to the ongoing drought. Certainly it's an ongoing concern. I know the wildfire issue has died down, but we still remain in a drought state. So just asking people to avoid watering their lawns or plants and washing their cars. Housing and Development, we're certainly pleased to welcome, and I guess here tonight is Lori Kelly, the new Eastern Charlotte team member for the Project Coordinator in Economic Development. And Lori, maybe just stand up and do a big wave. Thank you, Lori, for joining the team. Lori will be meeting with developers with pending housing projects. She's done a lot of that already, as well as several landowners who have posed some interest in developing their properties as well. And I think just recently met with the Service Commission staff there this week too. Childcare, the Murdoch Boyd is finalizing construction plans, awaiting meeting with the province and the YMCA on financial support based on the early estimates, chatting with the province to ensure that the funding is still there and the province is willing to, and the feds are willing to offer the financial support for that project. Public Works, still awaiting paving for Granite Street. We are on the schedule for that in the southern portion of Campbell Hill Road and the Brunswick Street Upper Bridge to Elementary School section in St. George. Also a number of different cuts. I know people in Hillside Subdivision, the dip that's been in there for a while, we'll be addressing that, and also the repair work that was done on Clinch Street. The Public Works building in Blacks Harbor is moving into electrical work, and that's ongoing. Plans are to move the Blacks Harbor team there by the start of the winter season. Replacement vehicles are quoted as part of the 2025 capital investment. I believe that's on agenda for later tonight. Repair upgrades to the sewage line on Clinch Street has been scheduled for the 1st of September, and that has been completed. And repairs are scheduled for the 2 to 3 storm drain drops on the Main Street Road in Blacks Harbor. So many people in Blacks Harbor know there's a few different storm drains, storm grates that have really dropped down. We'll be repairing those as well. Parks and Recreation, finalizing work at Riverside Park with the unofficial opening date set for September the 28th, and that's certainly a big event that's going to be happening down there, so we invite everyone to come down. Staff will be putting in the ice at the arena for the second week of September. That's ongoing now, and kudos to the staff down there that's just really focused on putting in a good ice sheet this year. Repairs have been made to the walkway plaza around the post office in St. George. And despite these repairs, the plaza does need significant work. We have just awaiting a report back from Smet Monuments in regards to the memorial on the front of the post office. Anyone that's been around the post office knows that that's showing large gaps and some movement. So Smet Monuments will be advising us. We hope to then have the courts lined, still waiting the fencing company for the play courts in Blacks Harbor. They have been on site in the last couple of days, and we'll have those courts lined and set up for a new playground. So we'll be going through once we determine the play area for that playground, we'll be looking at installing some of the returned pieces of equipment, but also some new fixtures for the playground in Blacks Harbor. We will need to review the Christmas tree site in St. George. The former hardwood tree is pending a report from our herbiculturist. I keep struggling with that. A tree expert, and the tree has been really going through some difficult times in the last few years. We did advise them to, if there's any dead limbs, to remove those immediately. So we'll be doing some of that, but we do have to sort of look at that tree for the future and make sure that it's a safe area. Fire in September, the tender goes out for the new pumper, and I believe that's just finalized now, just waiting to be issued. The new fire truck pumper for the Eastern Charlotte Fire Rescue. Looking at a mobile pump trailer as well, and that's something that will be towed. It's a tow-behind pump trailer that will assist in pumping for lakes and brooks and stuff. For much of the month of August, we are under significant fire watch and fire prevention directive from the province. Thankfully, that has pretty much ceased. The increase in medical calls continue to be reviewed, and I believe we're meeting with staff and members of council, meeting with Ambulance New Brunswick this week to discuss those. Dangerous and unsightly properties, 2 demolition orders have been completed, so we did demolish those two files. We do have several files that are still pending and will be coming to council fairly soon. I certainly believe that they'll probably be coming at the October meeting. There's at least 2 more that we have to clean up. Those properties, one is in Back Bay and the other one's in Lake Etopia. Finance and HR, Finance is working on completing the year-end and the year-end projections, and then we move into the budget. We're starting to slowly get some information in for the budget 2026, so we'll be eagerly moving into that fairly quickly. And that is the general government report.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. Any questions or comments on that? Yeah, Councilor Dedrakis, you're first.
I think I have some questions. So regarding the Christmas tree at the post office, which is a central part of St. George, so have we reached out to an arborist yet, or are we still waiting on that?
We have had the Coburn, I guess father and son, that's what they do. They are looking at it, and we were on site the other day, and we did advise them before they got back to us on any type of report to get rid of at least the dead limbs that are there. There's several dead limbs that are, if they were to fall, they're, could damage or hurt somebody, so.
But they're going to also assess whether or not the tree is in fact dying.
Right.
Or not. And then I presume, what would be the next course of action?
Well, if it's dead, unfortunately, there's not much you can do to bring it back. So on first look, his recommendations were to remove some of the dead limbs and then really take a look at it and see how the tree handles that, because it is carrying a lot of extra load. We still have concerns with putting lights on it and getting any types of lifts in around that area, but we'll just wait to see what he has to say, and if it comes back that the tree is, we're going to monitor it for the next couple of years, that may be the case. I mean, that whole area, as I mentioned, with the War Memorial, the whole area is really, it's significant. It's coming up for a need for some much needed attention, and we did repair a lot of that walkway around the post office. It was almost like an ankle breaker with the old pieces of granite that were there, and that's been cleaned up. But with the tree and with the monument, unfortunately or fortunately, some things may look a little bit different in the next couple of years there.
Okay. And my other question is, there were some housing projects in Blacks Harbor. The organization was used to be Project Village. Now I'm not sure what is it called.
Project Village.
Is it still Project Village? Has there been any progress on that?
Not a lot of progress. They're still pending CMHC type of responses, and Lori has been down to visit with them, and starting in October, she'll start providing a report to council. She's had a very good in-depth conversation with them and to see where they're at, and certainly if it's outside of what anything more they can do, I guess our next step is maybe making a visit to either to the Minister with Housing for the province, do some lobbying, or as well to maybe make some lobbying to CMHC on their behalf as well. I think it's been a long time. I think maybe a road trip to Fredericton might be needed at this point. Both of those projects are very important for housing just in general. We've lost inventory with some fires just this year that we've not replaced with especially some of the lower income housing. So it's really, housing is certainly an important piece with us. So I think a day trip up to Fredericton and meeting with some of these powers that be that push these files through, if that's where they're held up at.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Jason? If not, we move on to the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. The regular board meeting of August the 28th, 2025. Business arising from the previous meeting. Mayor Matthews at that meeting moved the revision motion number 25-29, transfer of $1,357,000 from capital reserves to operating for the purchase of a landfill compactor to be $1,230,000, $574.47 to make the amount reflective of the purchase price net of HST rebate. That was seconded by Jim Tubbs during that meeting. New business was moved to give notice of the vote of October the 23rd, 2025, to approve the 2026 budget and distribute a copy of the proposed budget to its members that are local government and to the minister in accordance with Section 28(1) of the Regional Service Delivery Act, and that was seconded by Mayor Matthews. Staff report, it was moved that the SNBSC opt out of CRINS, which is CRIN, I know a lot of people say the letters, which means Canadian Radio Communications Information Notification Service. And the motion was to notify CRINS of the decision and to appoint PRAC to serve as a designated land use authority to provide letters of concurrence with Industry Canada and adopt the proposed antenna siting protocol. And that was seconded and carried. The tourism position last month was eliminated. The new app, the map of the map of building and development permits are up on the Service Commission site and can be linked to the municipality site. And now go to Alex.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Yeah, regarding that map, so that's a map that sort of tracks where development's occurring in Eastern Charlotte and across the region. So it's a map with showing all the building permits, subdivisions. It's the key public information that's relevant to track Eastern Charlotte's development and progress. And actually, met with Lori, and we looked at that, and there's all kinds of things we can provide her in her position to advance the agenda of development, especially with mapping. PRAC has an application for private access. This is the rezoning council just did recently for Poor Hale House Road. That's that 5-lot business park development. So that's going to committee tomorrow. Last month, the Planning Committee approved a private access for a building lot off Woodbury Cove in Utopia. PRAC also provided its advice to council regarding a agenda item on your agenda tonight regarding the Carlton Street extension. So that's that new street next to the cemetery. As a next step, council made a move to give assent and approve that public street extension. The Planning Committee tabled an application last month by Alexander Wilkins to develop 2 new additional dwellings at 120 Mount Pleasant Road. They just needed to obtain a little bit more information on the proposed farm development and the rationale for having the additional homes. But that rationale was provided by the applicant, and now it's going back tomorrow night. Development update, 69 building permits and development permits issued year to date, 9 new permits in the last month. Your total construction value year to date is close to $6 million. 13 tentative subdivision plans have been approved, with 2 new in the last month, and that added 2 new building lots. There's no new zoning confirmation letters or new dwellings recorded in the last month, but there was 1 new variance that was approved by a development officer. It's a minor frontage variance for a new building lot in Blacks Harbor. In terms of enforcement, 11 new files have been opened last month, and there's been 37 year to date. So these are enforcements under the Community Planning Act bylaws, rural plans, zoning bylaws, Building Code Administration Act, or your dangerous unsightly bylaw. That concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Good. I'll go to council at this point. Councilor Thompson, you first.
Alex, sometime in the near future, could you come to council, and you showed some of us a presentation probably a year ago or maybe a little less, probably 10 months, about the comprehensive planning on your new subdivision designs. Could you come to council and show that to everybody so everybody understands how they should be laid out?
So if I understand correct, you mean what a comprehensive plan is?
Yes, you have fresh drawings and how the water line should be on one side of the street and your sidewalks on the opposite side.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean. So this is the idea of if you updated your subdivision bylaw standards, what would it look like if you kind of narrowed up the road but provided some other amenities like the street trees or
right.
A multi-use shared path? Yeah, that kind of concept is definitely doable. One thing would be good to look at it as part of your rural plan or municipal plan, comprehensive plan that you're talking about, because there could be different alterations for Eastern Charlotte that would suit, the culture here, the local geography, and so on. So yeah, we could definitely talk about that. I think it would be a really interesting conversation when it comes time to do that comprehensive plan.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome for sure.
Any other questions? If not, I thank you very much for coming in tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Take it easy going home. It's getting dark now. At this point, I'll go to the fire report and Councillor Thompson.
For the month of August 2025, Eastern Charlotte Fire Rescue had 13 fire calls, 2 public hazard calls, 6 mutual aid calls, 14 false alarms, 3 training events, and 32 medical calls for a total of 79. I'd like to thank all the members for their help with FogFest. Thank you.
Good. Questions or comments on that report? September is, I believe, and John, maybe you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, is September is Firefighter Appreciation Month in Canada? That's correct. Okay, great. I want to recognize John Calder here tonight. I think Dexter Hanley's here from the fire department here tonight too. The commitment of these men and women on the Eastern Charlotte Fire Department extends far, far beyond the call of duty, benefiting not only Eastern Charlotte but all of Charlotte County. While we enjoy the safety of our homes, they risk their lives to provide critical assistance to those who require it. Throughout the year, they provide round-the-clock, 365 days of the year support, offering aid whenever we need it the most. They dedicate extensive time to training, studying, and taking exams to expand their expertise and offer truly professional service with a commitment to their duty. Their quick response times are truly inspiring. I would also like to express gratitude to the families of our members who make sacrifices and take on additional responsibilities at home when their loved ones are engaged in the community service. On behalf of the community, I truly thank you for your support and understanding. Behind every firefighter is a family that shares in their commitment. Again, thank you for sharing your loved ones with us. We are truly grateful. And I also want to express my sincere appreciation of our firefighters' courage in facing dangerous situations. They run towards danger when others are running away and they put their lives on the line to protect others. Eastern Charlotte residents are indeed fortunate to have these dedicated women and men at their ready whenever needed. We are all safer because of their service. A simple thank you hardly suffices, but we hope you know how much we appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you for your service, each and every one of you. How about a round of applause for Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue? Thank you. At this point, I'll go to the Public Works Report and Councilor McQuarrie.
Black Harbor, they flushed the water after they cleaned the tower. That's all been completed there, and the samples were taken up and everything was okay. The ball field was scraped and rolled. They put a new backflow water valve at Pond 1. They're continue to do locates for CBLC. Curb stops that are located will be applied to our electronic mapping. They're fixing equipment as it breaks down. Kubota lawnmower, utility trailer, 3-ton truck, trackless, Conovan. Well, that's a hopeless cause, that thing. And the 1-ton. They painted all the fire hydrants. The new building has been framed and the walls are up, and I think the ceiling's done now too, isn't it? They put the roof on it. They're just waiting for the door now. Hey? Yeah. And I want to thank the boys in Blacks for helping out on the weekend there for the Fog Fest. They set up the tables and cleaned up the garbage and made it usable for everybody. St. George. Oh, Blacks Harbor's also been doing some potholing too. So, mind you, everybody does that. St. George is doing some too. Washed out section of the Portage boat ramp had to be filled in with gravel and top coated with reclaim. Hopefully that'll hold up until spring. They set up a large tent at the high school for the Mariner Alumni Festival. Fence around the generator, if you notice when you come in, that's all up. And they put the fence up in the arena down the back of what do you call that thing? That park. Yeah, Riverside Park, whatever they call it. And they've all been doing their water tests, both departments, so. See, I suck at doing this stuff. Anyways, that's about it.
Good. I got to go to Jason just to elaborate a little bit more on that.
I guess one other thing with Black Harbor, I know Councillor Hadd has asked this a number of times, just with the fire hydrant on Wellington Road, it's scheduled to be repaired, and I was just asking about that just recently this week, and it's just been backdated a few times by the repair people, but that is going to be addressed for Black Harbor. So I know that may be a question that may come up.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Dedorakis, you're next.
Yeah, I have a question for CAO. So in the public reports for Public Works report for St. George, Ron Group mentions again, for like, this is probably the fourth time, concerns about the water levels at our wells. He mentions how we need to find a way to get water from the lake into the marsh so the water table can be back to normal. What are we doing about this?
So we will be starting conversations with CBCL. We've been a long time coming, especially with some of our capital investments with water and sewage, especially the renewal of some pipelines in St. George too that needs to get back on, some updates of sewage lift stations, and as well with the wells 4 and 5. So it's something that we've gone to that a couple of times, as you've mentioned, not just even with these reports last 4 months, but it's been an ongoing situation. If you go all the way back to even 2019, as the town of St. George, this has been an issue or concern. Just that how long can those wells continue with the marsh that's disappearing? So we will be talking with CBCL, bringing them up to date on that project, just that project alone. It's not going to be confused with anything else, just because of the priority with it. It is coming into conversation now, but it's going to be an individual project number, but it is coming into conversation as we look at the total St. George water, what we're forecasting that may be needed with new development, but also exit 56. They have a good understanding of if everything was developed at exit 56, how much water is needed and how much water we have today. So looking at each one of those wells is part of that process too. So that has come up in conversations, but it is going to be sidetracked to a project into itself and not like an IBA project, but just to look at it. I think there's some things that can be immediately done, or not, I shouldn't say immediately done, but probably in a quicker timeline, and that is addressing the sandbar that is kind of dried out and not allowing the water from Lake Etopia into the marsh. I think that's probably a quicker fix than maybe doing channeling or anything like that, but that will come up within the project needs.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the Parks and Recreation report, and we all have that in front of us. There's Parks and Recreation is a separate department now. It used to be just Public Works would take care of everything, but now it's such a big area and lots of things for these guys to be doing. They work at the Eastern Charlotte Recreational Complex. In summer, they work at Canal Beach, all the ball fields, the splash pad, Riverside Park, all the playgrounds, the community gardens, and of course all the events going on in the festivities and stuff. At the Eastern Charlotte Recreational Complex, there's been a lot of painting going on. CHCO has completed the reseal of the condenser tower and installed new infrared camera over the ice surface. The new puck boards, the ads have been installed. Paving for the basketball, ball hockey courts are completed, and the fencing as of today, I think most of it is, about 99% of it was done today. Pea stone for the playground portion is being put in. New basketball nets ordered and acquiring prices for playground equipment. Wi-Fi boosters installed at the arena, and cameras quoted for streaming the ice surface live. Repairs to the lighting over the ice surface. The Zamboni had its off-season service done by Saunders Equipment. The paint for the ice has been already ordered. The Film Fest was there in August, and startup schedule is for September the 2nd. So the arena actually I think is scheduled to be open next week, I believe it is, for hockey. So it's coming pretty fast. Canal Beach, there's a lot of work was being done on there. I'm not going to get into every detail, but just to let people know that that department works on a lot of areas of Eastern Charlotte, and they do a lot of work in each one of those areas, and they're very, very busy. So I'm going to turn this over to council. Any questions or comments on that report? Yeah, go ahead.
So any maintenance that's done on our trails, for example, along the river trail, is that something that's done by Parks and Recreation, or is that done by Public Works?
It's really both, I guess, depending on the capacity of, like right now, for example, there was something like a tree fell on the trail. Obviously, the guys are putting the ice in, and there's a few tournaments with baseball, so, St. George Public Works would assist. So it really comes down to just good communication between the foremen on what they can do, and, if they have guys that are on a vacation. But, so far, it's been sort of a I guess, a cooperative effort.
Okay.
In the future, more and more of that will move under Parks and Recreation because it is deemed Parks and Recreation. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to say these guys have a lot. The ball fields, for example, this past summer, Councillor Thompson, you spent a lot of time on the ball fields. These guys did an excellent job, I would say. The fields always look good. Not as good as the Blue Jays field, but really a really good job. That's right. But like I say, they did an exceptionally job. Every time you went out to a ball game, the fields really look good. I know the one in Black Harbor got used a lot down there, and it always looked good. You have something else to say?
I guess just one other quick thing, Your Worship, just with the Eastern Charlotte Recreation Complex. I know it just last week, Councillor Hatt and I were there, and just looking at with the progress of that ongoing project. There's been a lot of money that has been put into the arena, and we still have a good season up ahead where there's more funding more of that funding is going to flow to the arena with some heating elements that are coming in, finally getting a new playground that's down there, just updating some of the equipment. So that's still ongoing, and I think as we probably approach the middle of next year, we should probably have had that project finished. But certainly, I know with like Councillor Hatt, we've been staying on top of that. Things go off in the summertime when Public Works or Parks and Rec is keeping care of the other playgrounds and parks, and the arena's still always been focused on, and it's an older building, but there's still a lot of use left in it, and really the ice surface, just being down there today, looking at it, it's been looking great, and the team's been doing a good job down there, and even with the new canteen tenants, the amount of attention that's been put into that has been great too. So I think people should be pretty happy with the building, especially coming into this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when the arena opens up next week, people are going to be quite happy to see the middle of the ice. The new Eastern Charlotte logo is going to be on the middle of the ice, and so next week, I think the 22nd is when the arena will open. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hatt. Go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be first skates on Monday.
The 22nd, right? Exactly. Yeah. Good. Okay, we move on to committee reports. Councillor Dederack.
I have a few. So this is on behalf of the Age-Friendly Committee. So just an update of what we've been doing. So first on the docket, so age-friendly community designation. We are pleased to announce that Eastern Charlotte has officially received their designation as an age-friendly community. In recognition of this achievement, a ceremony will be held on October 15th at 2 p.m. at the Macadavic Place. This is a significant milestone that reflects our ongoing commitment to fostering an inclusive and supportive environment for residents of all ages. Next is public washroom signage. So in an effort to improve accessibility and public awareness, street-facing signs for public washrooms have been installed at the Macadavic Place. Special thanks are extended to Jason and Public Works for carrying out this initiative. Envelope for Life initiative. This is one of the projects that we're really trying to push. It's our action plan related to the Envelope for Life has made substantial progress, raising approximately $3,000 to date. We're actively pursuing donations from several additional sources to fund the remaining $2,500 needed to fulfill our objectives. Engagements with local partners and stakeholders continue to drive momentum around this project. We've reached out to different organizations in the community, such as the Hub. We met with the EC Fire Club recently to present the Envelope for Life initiative. The club responded positively and is open to providing financial support. To formalize this, a letter has been sent out outlining our request for a donation. We've reached out to our MLA, Ian Lee, for a donation in support of a quarterly bulletin delivered by volunteers to seniors and shut-ins. In addition, we plan to request a face-to-face meeting in the near future to discuss future avenues for support and potential collaboration on community programs. And that concludes that report. Then I have another report.
Yep, go ahead, Councilor.
This is for the Beautification Committee. This is all in everyone's folders. So at the last meeting that we had, which was on September 8th, the minutes, by the way, were prepared by Jarina Petrovich. That wasn't indicated in the notes, in the minutes. We discussed long-term versus short-term ideas, strategies that we could implement here in St. George. So, for example, we talked about the post office, and that's something that, you know, our CAO mentioned that definitely needs some attention. And in terms of like short term, I know as a council we've discussed this. This is mentioned by the beautification committee, and it's something that perhaps the council could reinforce again. We need to replace some lights along the river trail. There are 4 lights that are out, and there are some lights that are out along the Macadavid Place as well. So if we can get that replaced and just have like adequate lighting in the parking lot, that would be great. So we're also going to be looking at possible projects for council to consider for the 2026 year, and that way, if council chooses to do something with it, we can budget it accordingly. So that concludes my reports.
Okay. Question or comment on that? No? Okay, now we'll move ahead. Thank you very much, Councilor Dederakis. 8 is the financial statement. I need a motion to accept the financial reports for August 2025. I need a motion by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Great, thank you. I keep forgetting Councilor Hat's here. It's going to take me a month to get used to. 9, old business, draft bylaw, EC-15. I'm looking for a motion to accept the third and final reading by title only of bylaw number EC-15, the Mayor Oil SNBSC reporting. I need it. Oh, are you going to go, Jason, first? Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is bylaw EC-15, bylaw respecting mayoral reporting and communication of Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. This will be a third and final reading. First reading was done last meeting. Second reading was done last meeting, and copies made to the public is in full. So we'd just be looking for a third and final reading enactment.
I need a motion. Councilor Dederakis, seconded by Councilor McKay. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Councilor Hatt, I never got your vote on that. Yeah. Gotcha, thank you. 10 is new business, capital funds allocation. I'm going to go to Jason on this to talk about it.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as mentioned in a number of reports, both this month and last month, just the need for the purchase or acquisition of some new vehicles within Public Works and Parks and Recreation. We have a number of vehicles that are really at the end of their life or have been at the end of their life for a while. In that is the Econo van in Blacks Harbor. It will not pass the next inspection. We also have a significant need with Parks and Recreation as that department has grown, having a single cab truck for three men and a summer student. It doesn't really work. But there is a need to take that truck and replace the Econo van in Blacks Harbor. Certainly within Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue, the 469, which is one of the main lead vehicles, especially when it comes to the medical calls out of St. George, that is getting aging. But there's a need to sort of transfer that truck into somewhere else in the fleet, because we do have an admin command truck, a support truck in Blacks Harbor that's at the end of its life. So that would be for a F-250. And then lastly in St. George, we have a 3/4 ton that's I guess it's really been it's been healed a number of times and body worked, and that is at the end of its life for sure as well. The thought is there that we'd be putting more of a 2-ton in its place, and we do have a 1-ton that's going to be coming out of that and likely making its way to Blacks Harbor. So we do have the ability now as well with moving some assets around, especially those assets that there's nothing owing within the given public works area. So right now there is a need for 3 vehicles, an F-150 type vehicle, an F-250 vehicle, both of those being crew cab, and a 2-ton F-550. We've done, I know a number of councillors have been parts of some meetings and looked for quotations, and they're all sort of coming in around the same for those type of trucks. Taxes, pre-taxes about $274,000, and with taxes, with our municipal tax, it's about $285,000. Plus, if we're looking at with lettering and lights and any type of additional accessories, I guess the request would be from council to have the use of the capital assets in the tune of $300,000 for the capital assets funding. I guess that's it.
Okay, this is just for discussion. Is there any questions or comments on that? Councilor Dairakis, you're first.
It's, because we don't have the numbers in front of us, so you said it's about $285,000 for 3 vehicles.
That's correct, yes.
And, okay, so do we have a break, you'll eventually send to us a breakdown of what each of those cost?
Right.
And in terms of the capital fund allocation, this is my question. What is it exactly? Does everyone contribute to this fund, or is this just renamed from the St. George Capital Fund?
No, so in the last budget, there's about $518,000 that's in that capital asset area. And I believe $200,000 of that was St. George alone, which we would be looking at to partially fund that, the public works truck. And then there's also the other 300 plus that's from Eastern Charlotte in itself. So that's why the fire and the Parks and Rec truck. So both of those would be using those funds.
Perfect. And I guess one other question, because I was looking through the budget notes. So we have the capital reserve fund for St. George. It's about $84,000. Is that something that would be used towards a project like this, or what would you use something like that for?
We could, but if there's money that's already in the reserve, it's already there. It doesn't need to be touched. Okay. I guess if we don't utilize the capital assets, it does get rolled into a surplus that we don't see for 2 more years. It could help the budget of 2027 to have a surplus. However, I guess as I mentioned, the need is now. We do have a couple vehicles that, especially the Econovan and Black Arbor, just needs to go. So really that's I guess we're financially in a good place that we don't have to worry about borrowing for these type of assets. There is money that's there. So yeah.
Okay, so translation is we're not going to be touching this.
Right.
We have a collective fund from all of Eastern Charlotte for these vehicles. Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to move on to 10B, the St. George Cemetery Board Subdivision Plan. Jason, did you want to speak on this first?
Sure. So this would be looking for an assent from council, and I guess I don't know if Alex is maybe headed off there, but so we'd be looking at the extension of Carlton Street with lands that we will be acquiring for subdivision from the St. George Cemetery Board. So that would be the extension of Carlton Street. I'm just going to look here. So just really with the recommendation from this PRAC report does show that it's recommended by the PRAC Advisory Committee for the recommendation of the location of the new public street for the Eastern Charlotte for their assent as shown in the St. George Cemetery Board subdivision. So that is, if you go to the page in your council report, you do see that road extension. This is part of really, I guess, a phase 2, phase 3 housing project that's attached to the hillside housing development, which we previously passed for housing. And so this would take that Carlton extension and direct it out towards that way so that eventually it will loop back with hillside. So we have worked with the cemetery board, and they certainly are on board with this. There is no money exchange. This is just us clearing lands that would be adjacent to this new road for them to use for future use of the cemetery. So it's there'd be no cash, just really just the price of paying for clearing lands that we're going to have to clear anyways. So we'd be looking for just a motion from council to assent to the extension of Carlton Street as per the subdivision plan.
Okay, I'll look to council for a motion, if so. I don't see any motion. Oh, Councilor Dairakis, I have a motion. You go ahead and read that.
Be it resolved that the Council of Eastern Charlotte gives its asset to subdivision plan named St. George Cemetery Board Subdivision Plan as presented to council, and that council gives leave to the clerk to apply the corporate seal of Eastern Charlotte and sign the face of this subdivision plan on behalf of council.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilor Dadarakis. I need a seconder, Councilor Tidd. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Okay, that's aye. Okay. I was wondering, I'm hearing voices. Good, excellent. Okay, okay, gotcha. Thank you, Councilor Hatt. Okay, 10C is Proclamation of Dyslexia Awareness Month. Municipality of Eastern Charlotte, a proclamation, whereas dyslexia is a lifetime neurodevelopment disorder that impedes the ability to use skills such as reading, spelling, and speaking, and dyslexia can affect children, youth, and adults from all ethnic, social, and economic backgrounds. And whereas dyslexia and other learning disabilities, if not identified, may increase the risk that a person without the appropriate supports will experience educational, mental health, and employment challenges. And whereas with proper diagnosis, instructions, and support, individuals with dyslexia can gain full and meaningful access to education, community, and the workforce. And whereas the government of New Brunswick promotes an inclusive education system in which students with disabilities and diverse abilities are fully participating members of a community of learners, and in which all students are entitled to equitable access to learning, opportunities for achievement, and the pursuit of excellence in all aspects of their educational programs. And whereas Dyslexia Awareness Month is an opportunity to raise awareness of dyslexia and show support for people with dyslexia. Therefore, be it resolved that I, John D. Craig, Mayor of Eastern Charlotte, New Brunswick, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2025 as Dyslexia Awareness Month and October the 8th, 2025 as International Dyslexia Day in Eastern Charlotte. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Eastern Charlotte to be affixed the 17th day of September 2025. Correspondence, there is none tonight. Tonight is the public presentation, number 12, public presentation appearances. Please note under bylaw EC-01, section 7.1, members of the public shall be entitled to address council for 5 minutes with no debate from council on matters of municipal jurisdiction. Please note that I'm asking for you to give your name and civic address when you come up to the microphone. And during this time, I can't tolerate or allow anybody to make accusations against anybody or on any subject that works for Eastern Charlotte or any member of council or anybody for that matter. So, yeah, if you'd like to speak, you just go over here to the microphone and just tell me your name and address. Yeah. Chris, give him 30 seconds before you start. That's good. That's great. Thank you very much.
I'll just rush through this since I only have 5 minutes. Your Worship, City Council members, thank you for creating and developing Riverside Park. Typing mistake there. Your foresight and vision are commendable. It was an effective way of repurposing the area. Many visitors staying at our Airbnb write in their reviews how they like sitting in the park, eating and looking at the river and surrounding scenery. To enhance the appearance and appeal of the park, I'm recommending the town install 3 circular flower beds with a tree planted in the center, as you see in the picture that's attached. When looking at the river, 2 could be planted on the right of the pavilion and 1 to the left. Circular flower beds can be seen in the Coastal Link Trail along the St. Croix River in St. Stephen. They're located across the street from the Garcelon Civic Center parking lot. One of them is 13 feet in diameter, the other 16 feet. These flower beds are beautiful and would look good in Riverview Park. I mentioned this suggestion to Jason Godet earlier this year, and his concern was the town does not have the staff to water and maintain the gardens. To alleviate his concern, my wife and I are willing to volunteer to do all the necessary upkeep of the flower beds. As some of you may know, we live right across the street, behind Riverside Park is where and so it wouldn't be much trouble for us to do that. The lawn, I also recommend installing another bench facing the river to provide an additional seating option for visitors. The lawn at the park has some bare spots which should be seeded. A lot of the grass appears to have a yellowish dry appearance. I suggest installing an in-ground sprinkling system to provide a lush green appearance similar to a golf course. Our Airbnb guests have made many positive comments in their mandatory reviews, providing good publicity for the town in the Airbnb, Facebook, and TripAdvisory communities. They love their words, quaint appearance of the town, the waterfall, and the pub. An exceptionally beautiful park would be another attraction for giving tourists a reason to visit and return. If improved, the park should be added to brochures promoting tourism. This town has made a sizable investment, among other things, in the large, well-designed pavilion, so some additional expenditures, such as flowers and green grass, will enhance the beauty as well as the enjoyment of the park for future generations, as well as for locals and visitors alike. The park will become truly special and memorable. The first picture you see there, that's what I recommend. I recommend a 16-foot flower bed with a deciduous tree instead of an evergreen tree, which I think would be nicer. The second picture shows the other two types of flower beds they have there, which are somewhat smaller. I submit to you that a circular flower bed is a more effective use of park space than a horizontal flower bed like they have in Dover Park in St. Stephen. I also spoke to Jen Dow, who's a horticulturalist at the town of St. Stephen. She says she waters the plants 3 days a week and provides some, what do you call that? Well, she puts in something like a fertilizer. Okay, so thank you for your time. My wife and I sincerely hope the council will implement our recommendations.
Good. You still have a minute and a half. You'd like to. Good. You did a good job. Yeah, he's out of breath. Okay, next. Anybody else like to go ahead? That was a good presentation.
Karen Kernigan from St. George. I'm going to apologize before I start. Good evening, Mayor Craig and councillors. I would like to address the last month council meeting on August the 20th. There's 3 points. First thing, prior to this council meeting on August the 20th, I heard a rumor about some property. So the mayor and I were at a barbecue together on a Friday, and I asked if there was any truth to it. He told me he did not know anything about it, never heard a word about this. I come to the council meeting Wednesday and it was on the agenda. Well, this didn't sit well with me. If he didn't want to discuss it with me, he should have said, I can't talk about this, Karen, it will be on the agenda, and that would have been fine. Second, there were 2 ladies here from the Lions Club that got up to make a presentation, and the mayor said, you can sit down, I'll read what you want. It certainly made them uncomfortable as well as us sitting here. As Mayor Craig gave all kinds of time to 2 previous ladies as they couldn't get the computer going and they waited for them. I would like to thank Councillor Lee for saying, I think these 2 ladies came prepared to present what their need was, and so we should let them talk. The third thing was the agenda. We had all been addressed. Everything had spoken except closing remarks from Mayor Craig. Out of nowhere, the mayor suggests that we stop working on becoming a town. It certainly surprised council and us sitting in the room. My understanding, we were on a 90-day pause to get all the information, pros and cons of being a town instead of a rural community. I've been to council meetings before where Alexa has been turned down to make a motion because it wasn't on the agenda. But this was allowed at this meeting. I would say there's double standards. The council was so unprepared for this, it was like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off. Mr. Mayor, if you had thought this through, as it was such a big decision, you would have waited for the whole council out of respect for the 2 wards that their councillors were unable to attend. Deputy Mayor had asked, shouldn't all council be here? You said no. Alexa wasn't sure what you were proposing. She was confused, which, as the rest of us were in the room, was confused in what was happening. You have told us for almost 2 years we needed to be a town. With no information at all of a sudden, you put a halt on it. As a taxpayer, and other people here are taxpayers, I'm sure there's been a lot of money and effort and work put into this to try to become a town. I would assume the CAO and probably others have also worked on this tirelessly. I was told by a councillor, and it wasn't Adam Hatt, it was another councillor, that he didn't receive a full package on pros and cons until after the meeting. So I would say council doesn't even have all the information yet. We as the residents deserve to be able to ask questions at a meeting we were promised. I know I'm not supposed to talk during a meeting, but as you dropped this bombshell at the very end, I tried to ask the question, and Mayor Craig, you told me I wasn't allowed. But it was so out of control, I thought that maybe if you would just listen to the question I was asking, then someone would have come to their senses and thought this through before voting on it. Well, my mouth's getting dry. I would have been able to address this matter last month if the agenda had followed procedure. I now understand why people say, why bother coming to the council? Doesn't let you talk and then they don't respond. We have an election coming up in May, if I am correct. I believe the next mayor and council need to address some of these reasons people don't come. We should be able to question decisions on the agenda, and if you don't have the answer right then, the next meeting, answer the question with all the information needed. Being able to sit at the table and just hit the gavel and open the meeting and never have to address anything to the public is no way to represent the community. Then hit the gavel and close the meeting. No accountability. Next mayor, I hope, changes how the meetings are conducted and information gets relayed to the community. I would like to say, I'm so disappointed in how Mayor Craig handled this meeting. Alexa, you represent St. George. I wish you would have stood firm when you questioned Mayor Craig and said time out. I realize that this decision was made on the spur of the moment. Sometimes spur of the moment decisions have regrets. I'm neither for or against becoming a town, but I would have at least liked to have been informed properly. My understanding that all the information is ready to be presented to the community, so why not hold the meetings? I would suggest that someone from the province come down and explain everything to us. I would like one of the councillors to make this motion that we hold these meetings and everybody get informed properly. One thing, I have been checking out pros and cons. One thing I have been told, by being a town, we are handling, one thing I understand by not being a town, we're handing more power over decision-making to the province, to the provincial government, instead of our local council. That is how I feel sitting here from last month. And we elected you to make decisions for us and to get all the proper information before hitting the gavel and stopping things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else like to come
Matthew Hall, Ward 4. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I feel inspired. So back in August, all the walking trails in town here got closed down. Nobody was allowed on them. So it led me to run sidewalks that I typically don't run with my son, pushing the stroller. And it made me very aware of the poor state of a lot of them. So from Millbrook Park and Blacks down to the Lewis Connors Drive, that section of sidewalk is really, it needs fixed. It's really jagged. It's not this difficult to run with a stroller. I have good mobility. I can only imagine some of the older or less mobile people in the community, the struggles they would have walking on this section without tripping and falling. And then secondly, I just want to ask a question, say a question. Why are we the only municipality in all of New Brunswick that continues to fight and argue about what we are, if we're a rural community or if we're going to be a municipality? No other community is putting this much thought, effort, and resources into challenging this and changing it. I don't understand this. Our resources can be used better elsewhere, in my opinion. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Anybody else? John? Yeah, go right ahead, John.
Good evening, everybody. My name's John Calder. I'm from Back Bay. I have a couple questions, but before I do so, I want to thank you all for any help that you have given me in the past from my annual motorcycle ride for muscular dystrophy. This year was our third year. We started in year one with 30 bikes and made about $1,500. Year two, we were up to 50 bikes and made about $1,800. This year here, we hit 70 and made over $2,700 for muscular dystrophy. I'll be coming to see you in the spring for more support because this year I'm hoping for 100. And I just want to thank you guys for your support, and anything you can do to help is greatly appreciated. All right, question time. I don't know much about the town thing or anything like that, but my questions are, if Eastern Charlotte becomes a town, I'd like for you guys, I guess, actually consider how you would go about bylaws as far as the rural areas. Like, I don't know, like, will there be more restrictions placed on rural areas as far as how we do things? Traditional generational hunting areas, will they be closed down from people to hunt? Like, I don't know, that's why I'm asking these questions, right? Because I know, like, there's towns where there's like zero hunting in town limits, and I just want to see if that stuff's going to be okay, or are we going to lose that? That's all I was wondering. And somebody did ask me to mention the rural areas. If we do become a town, is there anything that's going to benefit us? Like, or are we just going to have higher taxes? I know that's a silly question, but it's one that was given to me, so I said I would pass it along. So that's it for me. I just wondering about, living a way of life out in the woods. That's all. All right. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you. Anybody else like to have an opportunity? Sam.
Sam Rubin, Mount Pleasant Road, and I'm going to talk about Mount Pleasant Road just a little bit. As the officer said, school's back in. A real change in traffic and people moving around up there. A lot of traffic, a lot of people. I'm going to start at the school, the crosswalk. Just before school got out, the municipality, they installed step-down positions off the sidewalks they needed a long time ago. But the crosswalk sign was taken down and not put back up. And here it is 2.5 months later. School's already in. That needs to be rectified. They picked the sign up, it's gone somewhere. Now let's go up to the tennis court, 150 meters up the street. There's a crosswalk sign on one side of the road, the other one was hit by snow plowing, and there's no crosswalk on the pavement. Take the signs down if they don't need them. If the school wants it there, paint the crosswalk, put the other sign up. Go up the road another 150 meters, the other side of the RCMP barracks. There was a sign that fell down probably about 3.5 months ago. It was a 30 ahead sign, and it goes before the school zone starts, and then the crosswalk signs. That needs to be reinstalled. That needs to be put back up. It's a high volume of traffic, and every indication for these gentlemen to do their job, if those signs are all there, it makes it much easier for them to enforce it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. If okay, going once, 3 times, great. I'm going to go statements by members of council. I'm going to go to the deputy mayor first.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening on such a lovely evening. Listening to the fire report and having read quite a bit on it in the last few days, somewhat alarmed by the increase in calls by our fire department doing medical coverage. I hope Ambulance New Brunswick is not taking advantage of their goodwill and expertise and will to serve us and downloading onto our fire department. And as Jason mentioned, come to the Pavilion grand opening, September 28th, 4 to 7, live music, free food, vendors. Hope to see you there.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you.
The conversation around the town and rural community. This is what we know. We have a letter from the Deputy Minister from July of this year that there is no change in transition funding from being a town or a rural community. We have a list from the Transition Committee, which I was part of. It's population-based, whether you're a village, town, or rural community. Now remember where we live. We're 40 square kilometers, 7,500 people, 75 to 80% of this area of Eastern Charlotte is rural. Blacks Harbor population under 1,000, St. George population under 1,000. The majority of the population lives on the outside. What benefit do we have by going to be a town? The rural areas are not going to get the services that the town or the old village had. We will never see anything that they had. The minister has the final say of whatever we do at this table. We can make a bylaw, we can change the world that day, and he can step in the next morning and say, no, it's not going to be like that. And he'll make the decision. We need to stay the rural community. The majority of the people live on the outside. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Councillor Hatt at this point because he's usually the next one in line. Councillor Hatt.
Yeah, no, I'll hopefully next month be at the meeting and I'll get caught up by then.
Okay, Councillor Dedorakis, you're next.
Sure. So at the last council meeting, Mayor Craig had asked council to consider a plebiscite during the next election. So that is, at the next election, the residents of Eastern Charlotte would make the decision at the ballot whether or not we would stay as a rural community or become a town. But we don't know the cost. We don't know the cost of what it is to actually do a plebiscite. And from what I've heard through the grapevine, it could actually be pretty costly. It could be a major expense actually for our taxpayers. Meanwhile, this whole conversation, this whole debate about being a town versus rural community has created quite a bit of tension, distrust, and some would say that it's actually turned into a distraction from the real priorities that we should be focused on. So like childcare, like the water situation in Blacks Harbor, you know, building a stronger partnership with our provincial leaders, right? So right now, if you do follow social media, it seems that Eastern Charlotte is the only municipality in Southwest New Brunswick that hasn't sat down with the minister to talk about issues, key issues, like economic development, local governance, even our roads, okay? I want to thank CHCO because someone from the minister's office saw their article and forwarded these facts. that we now know, which is changing our status does not affect our funding, our planning powers, or the services we provide. So the bottom line is, a vote will cost you money that we don't need to spend, okay? We can keep chasing distractions, or we can put our energy back to where it belongs, which is serving our constituents in Eastern Charlotte. So some of the questions, I tried to write down everything that everyone, Karen, John, and Sam, what you mentioned. Karen, you had said, I asked. Yeah, so this is a question that could address both Karen and John. John, like you mentioned, how does our designation change rural life? Oh, he's not here. Okay. So how does it change our rural life? And that's a really good question. That's a question that we could ask the minister. I've wanted the minister or someone from local governance to come and talk to the public and actually give a breakdown, a presentation on the differences between town, rural community, village. We still haven't gotten anything back from that. So that's my answer for that one. And I made, in terms of Karen, you asked of why I voted to go in this. The question, so that what we voted on wasn't for the plebiscite. It was for the motion that Councillor Lee put forward was a decision to stop it entirely. At that point, it had been, I think, 60 days. Has it been 60 days? And at that point, it had been a month into having this letter from the minister's office about the breakdown of, the clarification on what changing our designation means, really, which is, like I had mentioned, it doesn't impact our funding. It doesn't necessarily impact our planning powers or the services we provide. So that's why, with that information, I voted according to that. And that's something we really, part of good governance is still having that information, though. Like, it's good for all of us to know what that really means. So hopefully one day we can get that information and we can get that presentation from local governance. That's it.
Great. Thank you. Councillor McQuarrie. Councillor Tidd.
I'd also like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. In regards to the town versus rural community, I guess I still have questions in my mind. Initially, we thought there was a funding issue, and I guess my main concern still today is, and I don't think we've ever been given a clear answer, depending on who you asked and what time of day it is, into the bylaws, like the municipal plan versus a rural plan. Where does the decision-making power lie? My understanding with the municipal plan, it lies more around this table. With a rural plan, it relies more with the province. But it kind of contradicts each other because the province already can overrule a plan even if we're a town. So really that's a non-starter for me. So I agree. I think it's a waste of energy around this table, to be quite honest, when we have bigger fish to fry, so to speak. That's all I'll say on that. I would like to also, I think Fred's gone, Fred Stewart. I would like to thank him for his presentation, and I'd also like to thank the volunteers. If you haven't been over to Beaver Harbor lately, go take a look at the ball field. The amount of work that's been done on that field in the last month is just phenomenal. I believe it's most of those pictures you can actually, if you don't go over, you can take a look at the Beaver Harbor Community Facebook page, and it's all there. So thanks again.
Sorry, Councillor McCabe.
Okay, I have a couple of things. So most of you may have noticed that the mural in the town has been painted over. So, and as it was being painted over, I put a post on about it being painted over. Well, there's been a lot of comments. So, let's address some of those comments. This was a team decision. This was a council decision. And I get that not everybody is going to be pleased with council decisions. But we are your council, and we are trying to do the very best that we possibly can for our community. So people have come out of the woodwork and said they didn't like the mural, they don't like the mural, or they did like the mural, sorry, and we shouldn't be covering it over. Well, the mural has been there since 2017, and it has seen better days. The shingles are rough, the paint is chipping, and in my personal opinion, it looked bad. So, and then there was a comment made about the artist, that the artist, you know, would be hurt or some sort of something like that, that his feelings may be hurt. Well, the artist is a grown man and he's an artist. And artists know that not everybody appreciates their work. If you're an artist, you know that, you know, your work is either liked by some and not liked by some. So I'm sure the artist has broad shoulders. However, the artist was called in 2022 or addressed in 2022, and his comment was, it lasted 5 years. I didn't even think it would last that long. So this had been 7 years or whatever. So the artist is okay with it. The other thing was that the money could be better spent. Well, if somebody or people had read my post better, this was volunteer work by your council. Nobody was paid. There was not really any cost incurred except for maybe 5 gallons of paint. And there was actually a couple gallons left over. So there was no cost. So as far as putting that money somewhere else, there was no money. So your council volunteered their time to go and paint a building that doesn't belong to us, just to make it look better. So other people have said, is there going to be another mural put on? Well, we're not making a decision on that. In order to paint a mural with paint, other than spray paint, it would have to be sheathed and it would have to be a flat surface. Once again, we do not own the building. So those are just my comments on all of that. I think the building looks great now that it's painted. It's a lovely color. I don't know who picked out the color. Was it you, Jason? Somebody from Public Works picked out the color and they did a fabulous job. So that's that. Now my comments concerning Karen's comments about the council meeting. I was a council member, or we all council members, but nobody on this council knew what was going to happen that night, and it was obvious on our faces, I'm sure. I was privy to some information that something was going to happen, but I had no idea what it was. Do I think it was done appropriately? No, I do not. And I will speak up boldly and I will say I do not. As far as I'm concerned, I do believe our mayor owes council a public apology for what he has done to council by not letting any of us know. We were blindsided and none of us knew what was happening. And to go to a member of the public and decide that this was going to take place, and that member of public come here, it was not right. And I will stand behind that statement, and we'll go from there. Thank you all for coming out. It's been a great night.
Okay, that brings us to the date and location of our next regular meeting of council, and that's October the 15th, 2025, at 7 o'clock right here at Macadamic Place. I'll look for a motion for adjournment. Councilor Dibb, thank you. Oops. Thank you.